Welcome back to Budget Gamer. I'm Cynic Placebo, and today I got a twofer for you. So normally I've kind of gone over one store at a time, but today we're going to go over two because these are lesser well-known stores. So the first one is the EA app for Windows. Now the EA app for Windows you may not have heard of, but it is replacing Origin. So if you ever had to have Origin, this is the replacement, EA app. Now, why would you have Origin? Well, if you have Steam games, a lot of those Steam games actually live on Origin. You're not allowed to run them natively in Steam. It's just basically a partnership agreement between Steam and EA that they will sell the games on the Steam store, but then you actually have to run them with previously Origin, now the EA app. So this app is kind of one that you might end up having to have anyway if you own very many games. And if you look through here, it's not my favorite store, primarily because, look, you don't see any prices, do you? Right? Not a single price. I hate it, right? Then you click into it, look, Dead Space, $60. They should show that on the main page. But one of the things that is interesting about the EA store is the included with EA Play, right? So for example, if you're going to sign up for EA Play, I'm not, endorsing it, but if you're going to sign up for EA Play, it's kind of a rotating game pass of things that you can just play, right? And so a lot of these games actually are pretty cool, and so it's a decent value if it's something that you're already inclined to do. But if you already have Xbox Game Pass or something like that, that might be what you want to stick with. But EA Play is definitely an option. The other weird thing about EA is that your library is actually under My Collection. Now, there are some amazing games inside of EA, and so I really can't recommend Alice the Madness Returns enough, and then the same with Mirror's Edge Catalyst, just fantastic games. They have some good exclusive content, but it's a bit of a frustration, and the store is not the best for browsing different things. You can sort by, genre, players, languages, but you cannot sort by price. So EA gets my bottom of the bucket recommendation for game launchers, but there are some good games on there, so this is not a budget one. So now let's dive into Ubisoft. So Ubisoft, theirs is called Uplay, and it has the same sort of thing where they have a partnership with Steam, but some of the games that you think you're going to purchase on Steam actually are going to need to run inside of Ubisoft. So if we look at my games, for example, all my Assassin's Creed games, the Far Cry games, except for 1 and 2, have to live inside of here. Some random ones like Rayman and the Fractured But Whole, right? And even Watch Dogs. So even though all of this content I purchased directly on Steam, well, maybe not all, there might be the Division 2 I might have done directly inside of Ubisoft. But all the rest of it I purchase on Steam, but they have to run inside of Uplay. So again, it's one of those accounts that you probably are going to end up having to have if you play very many games, so you might as well know about the store. Well, real quick, back on the Games tab. So if you actually collapse the Games tabs, there is a free game section, so props to Uplay for that. This is, granted, it puts trials in here as well. Most of these are going to be demos and trials, but at least, that's something you can do. Trackmania is a full game, but it's like the starter pack, right? You don't get to have all of the things unlocked, but that's fine. It's a fun game, worth playing. I believe Roller Champions is the same sort of thing, where it's like the base pack, and then they're hoping that you'll purchase DLC. So there are a few free games inside of Uplay that you can find, but then if you go to their store, it's a little bit of a mixed bag here. So, there are these like discount points you can earn. I'm not in love with those. But if you scroll down here, there is at least a price filter, right? So by default, it's all the way up to 530. This one you can scroll down, but again, I got to give it bad credit because look, I'm down here at like $3, something like that, $5, $7. You can hardly see it. It just can't even handle being filtered that low, right? And quite frankly, when I filter by games, I'm usually filtering under $10, a lot of times under $5, because I have a lot of games. I'm not looking for a AAA title that's going to cost me $80. I'm looking for something that's going to be fun to do on the side, right? And they will show you free-to-play games up here. So even though I've got it filtered down, you'll notice that we're still seeing these high prices, but if you scroll down below, this is basically underneath of the recommended section is where the search results are actually happening. So this is where my filter is actually applying, but you'll notice DLC, 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 not so good. So let's scroll down here and you'll see that you can filter to DLC only, but then an in-game credit. But if you click on special and then standard, give it a second, it's going to take a little while to refresh, which again I don't love, but at least it does let you filter by price, and it lets you filter down to just special and standard edition games, right? So you can be like, oh, I want to get a cheap game, there's a cheap game, right? You can look through this, it will include the free content like Trackmania. So it gets much higher points than the EA app, right? And just as an FYI, Rayman 3 Hoodlum Havoc right now is on sale for $1.50. It is definitely worth $1.50. It's a good game. It's an older game, but it holds up. It's really fun. It's got good gameplay, and the controls work really well. So I highly recommend Rayman 3, at least at that price. At $6, you know, are you going to get... I still think it's worth it, but a lot of people aren't going to get enough value out of it to make it truly worth it, so it might not be worth it for you. But these are the two apps I was going to go over today. So you got EA app, which gets a pretty low score, Uplay, which gets a slightly higher score because at least you can filter by price. But neither are my favorite store, and they don't have a ton of free games, but every now and again you can get a good deal, and it's worth snatching up. So as always, I've been Cynic Placebo. Go out there and get some cheap games to game with. Cheers.